Chapter 7. I threw the thread high into the air and cried, "Take me home." At my command, the ball gave a great shudder and leapt away. I rushed after it, hardly able to blink for fear that I would lose sight of it cutting through the forest. Sweat drenched my temples, the summer heat clinging to my skin, but I didn't dare slow down. I had to warn my brothers. Had to warn father. Finally I re-emerged from my stepmother's garden, and I hurried into the palace. What a sight I was! Leaves entwined in my hair, mud caking the embroidered hem of my robes. I'd even lost one of my slippers. The guards gawked, baffled by my dishevelment. Nothing could stop me. I barreled into Hasho's chambers, gasping, "She's a demon." I leaned against the wall, trying to catch my breath. "We've got to tell father." Hasho shot to his feet. He wasn't alone, Reiji and the twins were there too, engaged in a game of chess. "Slow down. What are you talking about?" "Reikama." I gulped a lungful of air. I saw her transform. She knows I was there. Kiki burst out of my sleeve, and Reiji nearly overturned the chessboard. "What is that?" he exclaimed. "We have to tell father," I repeated, ignoring him. "Where are Andahai and Benkai?" "Here," answered Andahai. All of our rooms were connected, and he stood between Hasho's and Reiji's chambers, wearing a stern expression. "What's with the commotion, Shiori?" He frowned when he saw my robes. "Did you fall into the lake again?" "Too." I pushed past Andahai, turning to Benkai instead. He'd listen. She has a secret exit in her garden, I said, and it leads to a place in the holy mountains of fortitude. If we follow this ball, it'll take us there. My 6 brothers all wore identical expressions, creased brows, tucked chins, and pitying eyes. They wanted to believe me, but they didn't. Of course they didn't. I sounded like a raving fool. You don't believe me?" Reiji scoffed. "First you see a dragon, and now our stepmother is a demon." "It's true. I know you don't want to get married, but surely there are better ways for you to get everyone's attention." Benkai shot Reiji a warning look, then turned to me. "After dinner, sister," he said kindly. "After dinner, we'll come with you to follow this ball of yarn, all right? It'll be too late." Shiori, Hasho said, holding my shoulders. "You're trembling." I twisted out of his hold, still reeling. "Father married a demon. We have to tell him. We have to." My tongue failed me. Reikama had appeared at the door. Gone was her serpent face, the white streak in her hair. Even her skirts were no longer wet. But her presence was different, more powerful, more commanding. And the gash my bird had given her had healed in less than an hour. As Kiki rushed back into my sleeve, my brothers immediately swept into the appropriate bows, but I lurched for the closest sword rack. Hasho blocked me and gripped my arm so hard I cringed. Reikama's eyes bored into mine. "I would like to speak with Shiori. Perhaps after dinner." "Stepmother," replied Benkai. His shoulders had tensed and broadened, but although he was the tallest of my brothers, with at least a head over Reikama, somehow she towered over him. "We're already late too. The 6 of you will leave first." To my surprise, my brothers did not argue. Hasho let go of my arm, and he started for the door. I grabbed a jade-hilted sword and chased my brothers, blocking Yotan and Wandai. "No, stay." The twins halted their steps, looking confused. "Shiori," rang my stepmother's voice. "Drop the sword." It fell from my hand, and I gasped. I couldn't move. My body was rebelling against my every command, rooting my feet to the ground and my arms to my side. Fight, Shiori! Kiki cried, biting my hand from inside my sleeve. You must fight. Reikama touched my shoulder. Look at you. You're hardly in any shape to come to dinner. Go quickly now and change. I will make up an excuse for your father. Her eyes flickered yellow, and a rush of cold tingled over my mind and body. Suddenly my anger at her was dulled, my memories of what I'd seen in her garden no more than a haze, a dream. All I wanted to do was obey, to go to my room and change so I'd be on time for dinner. I'd wear one of my red robes. Red was my favorite color, and father always said I looked best in it. Or maybe I'd wear that red sash Gia had mentioned. I jerked, my hands balling into fists. Reikama was doing it again. She was trying to enchant me. I shoved Hasho as hard as I could, waking him, then I tugged at Benkai's and Andahai's arms, shouting to my brothers, don't look into her eyes. She's trying to control us. She. Enough. The word cut into the air like a knife. The slew of accusations died in my throat, as if someone had stoppered it with a cork. Benkai grabbed the sword I'd dropped and pointed the blade at Reikama. My stepmother barely flinched. Her eyes glowed yellow, the way they had when we'd been alone in the woods. I would advise putting down your sword, she said softly. Benkai's arms trembled, muscles straining, and his face drained of color. Something drove him to lower his weapon against his will. Demon! Andahai cried, brandishing his sword at Reikama. Yield! Andahai, too, did not make it even one step before he suddenly dropped his weapon. The rest of my brothers launched themselves at her, but they might as well have attacked the air. For all it took was a lift of her chin, and none of them could move. Run, Shiori! Hasho managed to rasp. Send for her father. I flew across the room, my hands groping at the doors, but they would not budge. Guards! I screamed, but the windows blew open, and a blast of wind rushed inside, swallowing my cry. I staggered, the wind pushing me back until I slammed against Hasho's dresser. As I crumpled, pain bursting inside me, a nightmare unfurled. Sons of my husband, I do not wish to harm you, Reikama said quietly to my brothers. But your sister has discovered the secret I hide most dearly, and I can see there is no way to cleanse the memories from your mind. You leave me no choice. It is for all our sakes that I must do this. The light in her chest hummed and shone even brighter than before, fanning out across the room until it enveloped my brothers. They began to change their throats first so they couldn't scream. Black feathers coated their necks, stretching up to the long beaks sprouting from their noses and lips. I heard bones break and muscles rip as their arms lengthened into glossy white wings, and their legs thinned, becoming knobbed like stalks of bamboo. Their eyes rounded and deepened, and, last, 6 crimson crowns festooned the tops of their heads. Cranes, my brothers had turned into cranes. They flew wildly about me. Screaming, I picked up a fallen sword and charged at Reikama. She whirled, dodging with a quick sidestep before she seized my wrist. With the same tremendous strength she'd wielded in the forest, she lifted me. My sword clattered to the ground. Bring them back. I spat, struggling against her. Bring them back, you monster. I might as well have pleaded with Shirima and the Undertaker, but in my madness I thought I saw a glimmer of pity in her eyes, an ember of feeling. I was wrong. Monster, my stepmother repeated softly. Lethally. The scar on her face glimmered in the lantern light. They called me that once. They called me many worse things. As I twisted and squirmed, her perfect lips curved into a grimace. Of all the people I met in this new life, I thought you might be the one to understand. But I was wrong, Shiori. She lifted me high. Now you must go. Before she could cast her curse, my brothers swooped. In a fury of sharp beaks and powerful white wings, they attacked our stepmother. Furniture flew, and amidst the chaos, I kicked Reikama in the chest and knocked myself free. I fled to my room, slamming the door behind me. I had to stop her. But how? Not with my zither or embroidery needles, and certainly not with my calligraphy brushes. My mousy maid was there, cowering in the corner. I'd never been so happy to see anyone in my life. Gia, I shouted, practically shoving her out the door. Run, tell my father. Tell him Reikama is. Gia's hands were behind her back, as if she was hiding something. A dagger, I sorely hoped. When she saw me, she lurched forward. Shiorianma. That was as far as she got. Suddenly her throat constricted and her eyes turned white, rolling back. Until her body went slack. Gia slumped to the ground, unconscious. Demons of Tumbu. I had but seconds until Reikama appeared at the door. I tried to shake Gia awake. No luck. No dagger on her either. Only a handful of what looked like black sand, probably charcoal for tinting my hair and lashes. Useless. I whirled, scrambling deeper into my bedroom. On my desk were the paper cranes I'd folded. Hundreds of them. I hurled them into the air. Come alive, and help my brothers. At my command, their pointed beaks lifted and their paper wings flapped. Within seconds, they rocketed behind Kiki. They surrounded Reikama at the doorway, but they might as well have been gnats. She raised an arm. And a brilliant light flashed from her heart. Then all at once my birds dropped, as lifeless as a pile of stones. Only Kiki still flew. She hid behind my hair, her wings trembling so violently I could practically hear the little bird's fear. So you do have some magic in you, my stepmother said, cornering me. This would have been easier if you didn't. Hate gave me strength. I threw the walnut bowl from Siriu at her head, hurling it harder than I had anything before in my life. But Reikama caught it in one hand. She held it on her palm, and a glow pooled within it, shadowy snakes crawling over the brim and wrapping themselves around my neck. Muscle by muscle, I stiffened, immobilized by the snakes squeezing me tighter and tighter, until not even a wheeze could escape my lips. Stop, I gasped. Let them go. You wish to speak. My stepmother's yellow eyes glowed. Then be wary of what you say. For so long as this bowl rests on your head, with every sound that passes your lips, one of your brothers shall die. Reikama raised my chin so our eyes met. I expected her to laugh at how helpless I looked, but her expression was unreadable. As of now, your past is no more. You will neither speak nor write of it. No one shall know you. She set the bowl upon my head. As the wooden sides fell over my eyes and nose, I opened my mouth to scream, but her curse arrived faster than my voice, and a world of blackness folded upon me.